There's this thought out there that Masonry is a secret society. It's actually pretty far from the truth when you think about it. Masonry, aside from, a couple of modes of recognitions, our handshakes and our words, and specifics to our ceremonies, we can share almost anything else. We could talk to you about the teachings of our fraternity. We could talk to you about the morals of our fraternity. We could talk to you about the lessons within our fraternity. And in fact, most Masons, especially Masons my age, will be eager to share those with members of the outside community. If you want to be a Mason, you have to ask to be a Mason. Nobody's going to come up to you and ask you to join our fraternity. It's part of our heritage, it's part of our tradition, and there are some very particular reasons why you will never be asked to be made a Mason. But if it is your desire to become a Mason, you need to find a Mason, you probably already know one, and tell them that you want to become a Mason. And what they'll do is they'll invite you to join their lodge, they'll invite you to meet with the brethren there, and after you get to know the brethren in the lodge, and they know you, then they'll give you a petition once they feel comfortable, and you feel comfortable with them. You fill out the petition, there are several questions on there, and once you get that filled out, you turn that in to a lodge, and then that lodge at its next stated business meeting will assign a committee, and this committee will be comprised of 3 other Masons. Their job is to investigate you as a candidate for Masonry and to make sure that your intentions are pure, that you want to join for the right reasons, but also to make sure that you're a good man. Masonry's stated purpose is to take a good man and make him better, not to take a bad man and make him good. And there's some very serious reasons for that. The main one being is we are a brotherhood, and we take care of each other, we look after each other. And we want to make sure that we only allow good men to become Masons. So really what this investigation process is for is to make sure that we're letting in quality candidates to then try to help them to improve themselves and make themselves better men. So that's kind of the walkthrough of how to first obtain a petition and then the process afterwards. Masonry teaches through ritual. This is the only organization that I know of that teaches through degrees. It also has a certain history to it. It's been around forever, and when I think about Freemasonry, I remember the night I was going to get initiated, I was standing at the door, and I was about to finally figure out what was inside the lodge and how everything worked and operated. And there was just a very solemn moment in there, and I thought to myself, this is where George Washington once stood, a member of our fraternity, and I'm standing in the same spot as George Washington. And, whoever your hero is, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, or if you're in Texas Masonry, of course, Houston, Austin, Bowie, and Davy Crockett, whoever your hero is, good chances are that they might have been a Mason. And to be standing where those people had stood was just awe-inspiring to me, and I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. Masonry also teaches in a very, very old system. The way we teach our lessons is from an instructor to you as the individual candidate. None of this stuff is written down. It's very interesting when you think about it in the world we live in with media, the internet, magazines, newspapers, articles being written everywhere, Twitter, Facebook, to think none of this stuff's written down. None of this stuff is going to show up on any of those places. Now, of course, there's all kinds of exposés out on the internet and things of that nature, but true Masonry is taught from an instructor to a candidate, and that personal bond that is created there and just the experience of it, that's something you don't find in our modern society. And finally, Masonry teaches through allegories and symbols. And you think to the Egyptian days when people couldn't read, they couldn't write, but they could see a symbol and they could understand what it meant. That practice is largely lost on our society today. But in Masonry, that's what we're all about. If you see a square, if you see a compass, if you see the letter G, If you see a double-headed eagle, or if you see a keystone, all these things will mean something to a Mason. And, they don't necessarily always mean the same thing to every Mason, because some of it's left to interpretation. But the idea and the ability to see the world through signs and symbols is something that is truly unique to the Masonic fraternity.